Supervisors ready. All right, call this meeting to order. Halfmoon Township Board of Supervisors, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting's being recorded live on CNET YouTube channel. We're going to open it up for citizen comments. You have 3 minutes for any citizen comments you'd like to make. Anybody like to make a citizen comment for anything not on the agenda? Ms. Perkins, you had your hand up first. Yep.
I just want to, Tammy Perkins, I just want to take a moment and for the 4 of you that were in attendance at the meeting on Sunday regarding the EMS, I just want to say thank you. I thought it was a great meeting and you guys were, seemed to be very, very supportive and I think we're in a good shape going forward. So thank you for your efforts.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lenore Foster, and I'm a longtime resident of the township. My family and I have used SCLO and the Center County Library often. Recently, the supervisors said they would begin negotiating with COG to decrease our commitment to them. I wanted to ask the supervisors where those negotiations stand. I participated in the trustees meeting last week from SCLO, which included a long discussion between COG, the library staff and trustees and myself about Halfmoon's decision. In fact, they said we had the longest public comment period ever during a trustees meeting. Sharon Ravancic has worked diligently representing our township and keeping us informed of all that SCLO has to offer. None of the other representatives from other townships come close to what she's done for us. One even commented that after Sharon's report of all her posts and presentations to the board, that she's a tough act to follow. She's an invaluable resource. Eric Nornberg from COG stated that Halfmoon needs to make a decision very soon, that all the libraries will be finalizing their budgets by summer, and without Halfmoon's contribution, services will definitely be cut. SCLO promised they would uphold their part of the contract and continue services to all of us throughout this year. At some point, though, we will definitely lose the very successful locker program at Ways and the drop boxes. The lack of funds could also affect the bookmobile program. There's a good chance we will no longer be able to download books from SCLO electronically to our e-readers, and classes will be closed or restricted to Halfmoon residents. These repercussions could all begin happening as soon as next year. Mr. Nornberg said that COG is approaching the negotiations in a positive and respectful way. He also said that once you stop participating, the process to rejoin is much harder to accomplish. I want to remind the supervisors that their actions affect the library in Bellefonte as well, in addition to the bookmobile, and that what happens to Halfmoon residents affects many others. 3 days ago, a letter in the CDT from someone outside our township brought up that point. Even residents from the other townships are concerned about our board's actions now. I think the supervisors should negotiate in good faith, keeping in mind the residents of Half Moon as well as our neighbors, that their actions impact a much larger group. I also think we deserve to be informed of progress regularly. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Karen Miller. I would also like to thank all of you for going to the meeting on Tuesday. I do think that there is certainly progress, and that is encouraging for all of us. But I also know that the EMS is desperate for money now, and again, from what Jack was saying, they don't have the personnel, so they can't go on calls, so they can't generate the finances. And unless something is done immediately to keep them going, I'm still afraid that they're going to close. Also, I'm not sure that $14 an hour is even going to be enough to bring anybody in. When you can go to, actually here, I think on the thing you're offering, going to be offering $16.50 for a road crew for mowing and such. They're not getting any kind of benefits or anything else. But anyway, I do thank you for looking at it, and I'm certainly hopeful that we're going to come to some kind of resolution. The other thing I'd like to point out with the library is when they're figuring out our contribution, they are not counting downloads for electronic devices. I have been a member of this library since we moved to this township, and I do all of my reading through SCLO and Center Region Library, and I do it all by downloads. So we're getting a bargain because they don't count people who are downloading books from the library. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Citizens' comments? Okay. All right, next up is approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the agenda.
Do I hear a second?
Second?
Ron moves, Roseanne seconds. Any discussion by the board? Call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Approval of the minutes for January 23rd organizational meeting, and if we can, we'll just throw the regular meeting minutes at January 3rd, 2023. Organization and regular meeting all in the same motion.
I move that we approve the minutes for January 3rd, org meeting and regular meeting.
Got a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any discussion by the board? Any concerns? Hearing none, call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Minutes approved. Subdivision land development plans or conditional use and public hearings. Half Moon Acres sewage planning module, component 2. The replot of parcels 1724 and 1724A. This will be resolution 2023-08. And since we have our planner here tonight, you want to just give the public a brief rundown?
Yeah, so this is related to a plan that the board conditionally approved last month on the 22nd. This is the property that is bisected by 550, where they were subdividing the north piece from the south piece and consolidating the southern portion with an adjacent lot. This component 2 module was one of the conditions of approval that was stated last month by the board. They had to finalize this and send it off to DEP and show proof of approval. Since that time, they provided us with a missing map that now makes the module complete. It's been signed off by the sewage enforcement officer for the township. In the planning review, we didn't find anything that was concerning related to the planning evaluation that we have to do. So what this will do, if it's approved by the board tonight, the resolution that is, you're essentially amending that 537 plan to acknowledge that they have met the requirements of having a primary and secondary system for both 2 lots that would be created as a result of the subdivision. So it's our recommendation that you approve the resolution and send this off to DEP for their review as well.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve resolution 2023-08.
I want to make a motion to approve the resolution. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Patty seconded. Moved and seconded. Any discussion by the board? Hearing none, call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Resolution 2023-08 is approved. Next up is a consent agenda, which is to approve payment of bills for the period of January 4th, 2023 through January 13th, 2023 from the following funds. General Fund, the amount of $28,017.17. Open Space Preservation Fund, the amount of $50. Appoint Hyacinth Kim to the Parks and Recreation Governance Special Committee, term 12/31/2023. Appoint Sharon Rovancik as the Schlow Library Representative to the Library Board of Trustees, 01/01/2023 to 12/31/2025. Appoint Mark Hartle to the Open Space Preservation Board, serve as Planning Commission Representative, term to end on 12/31/2023. And appoint Mike Fedor as a Special Seasonal Road Crew member at $16.50 an hour. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Do I hear a second? Moved and second. Any discussion by the board? Hearing none, call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain. Okay. Action items. Resolution 2023-09 is application for county aid. We've applied for county funds to assist in road projects in the municipality. We need to adopt a resolution and send that back to the county.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve Resolution 2023-09.
Do I hear a second? Moved and seconded. Any discussion by the board? Call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Resolution 2023-09 is hereby approved. All right, next up, direct staff to advertise for public hearing on February 23rd, 2023, the Planning Commission member ordinance. I hear a motion to direct staff.
Mr. Chair, I move that we direct staff to advertise for the public hearing February 23rd, 2023 for the Planning Commission member ordinance.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion by the board? Call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I have a question.
Sure.
Can you explain what that is?
We have a floating planning commission membership right now, which is, our solicitor informs us is
Well,
not,
This is changing the number from 7 to 5.
that's correct. Yep, we've got to straighten
It's
that
got to
out.
be one or the other.
Okay.
It's sort of been both for too long.
I thought it had something to do with the Halfmoon Acre thing.
No.
I thought there was a public hearing about that.
There is, Monday night.
Right.
Sometime, can you explain what that's about? I
Uh,
don't know, but, you know, sometime.
Well, how about if
I
we,
just heard it's something approved, so I just don't.
well,
things go
we'll
on.
discuss it here when we get
Yeah,
down on the
yeah,
agenda.
I didn't mean to interrupt. I
No.
thought maybe that had
Quite
something
all
to
right.
do with it.
Quite all
Moving
right.
right along, so I'm just trying to keep up.
Resolution 2023-10, approving the conversion of Joanne Fisher's 99-year lease on tax parcel 17004-007-0000 to a permanent conservation lease, thereby terminating the 99-year lease agreement. And it's my understanding that the county is going to take over and actually purchase the development rights on the property. Is that correct? Well, congratulations. We're looking forward to having another farm permanently preserved in the municipality.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve Resolution 2023-10.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion by the board? Hearing none, call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Resolution 2023-10 approved. I think you're the second person to go through that process with a joint setup with the county, so let us know how that goes. At least on the county end of things, so. Discussion and possible action items. EMS funding discussion and possible action. At the meeting on Tuesday night, the COG, Upper Bald Eagle, Half Moon COG meeting, the boards made a motion to appoint somebody to act as a point person for the Upper Bald Eagle COG to work out a equitable payment plan for everybody involved. Obviously, different municipalities have different concern, but we need people to sit down and actually have this function. So I was looking, since Ron Cervello's already on our Upper Bald Eagle cog, just thinking I would appoint him, make a motion to appoint him to that position to work something out. And once they have something worked out that all 5 municipalities can agree to, they'll bring it back to our boards for review and approval from the board standpoint. So I'm going to make a motion to appoint Ron to that position to work out the details. And I would think that would include population, income, real estate, all those things that come into play, to work out something that's, figure something out that we can all agree on. Do I hear a second?
Second.
And moved in second. Any discussion by the board? Call for the question. All those in favor of appointing Ron to that board signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Another question, please?
Sure.
Sorry. Is that gonna be done at the regular Upper Bald Eagle cog meetings, or is that gonna be separate?
That's gonna have to be separate discussions, I would think.
that's fine.
Because
I got
it's gotta be
confused
work
the other night.
sessions,
Yeah.
and it's gonna get into a lot of detail, and we're gonna have to collect information, and probably even get assistance collecting information.
Okay, I think
To-
that's nice.
Because we need to put together a permanent plan.
I agree. Thank you.
Ron, since you're the one appointed, what's your hopeful timeline to at least make some headway? I mean, do you have like a kind of like a personal?
Personal timeline?
Personal timeline, like I'd like to see this done in, X weeks.
I mean, I would like to see it done as quickly as possible, but to put a timeline, the problem is that we're dealing with 5 municipalities with different meeting dates, with different, schedules. I mean, if these meetings are outside of the regular meetings, then we're going to have to schedule them based on people's schedules. And there is some information, I mean, we're going to have information on budgets and try to figure out, how much money can be gathered together for this year and then in future years. What kind of model do we use? So we're going to have to get agreements on stuff like that. Some people want to do it one way, some people want to do it another. I hope that within a couple of months we can have a plan. In the meantime, that's why a lot of people are putting forth an effort to have a stopgap measure to fund for as many months as possible.
Yeah.
Hopefully through the year. Hopefully we can get through the year. I'm still waiting for the county to respond to my last request, which would give us a bridge for a couple of months until we get the state money in place. And then there's some clarifications on the state money. So there's all kinds of things that have to happen. But we need to do it as quickly as we can. But we want to do it properly to make sure it's sustainable. We don't want to shut anybody off, because each municipality has their own feeling about taxes, about tax limits. They know their own demographics. They understand what people's abilities are to pay. And, we've got to look at the membership, and we need to get the memberships back. And that's going to take some effort for people to get out there and canvass or whatever we got to do to get that, because that's a normal source of income for EMS.
Can I
For-
ask a question about that, though?
Mhm.
Why is it that only 20% of the population is paying for emergency services?
Well,
I
that-
think everybody should be paying their fair share.
That's a
Everybody
question.
within all of our.
Right.
And I understand taxes is nobody wants to say taxes, but we should all be paying, every single person in every township that supports both the fire and EMS should be paying their fair share. It should not be based on membership. I
Right,
have
but some
nothing
of
against
us
paying
would
membership.
freely
That's
give
not it.
money
I've been paying it for ever since
to
we
help
lived
out.
here.
Well, we're going to look at everything, and it's going to take a lot of work. And I hope that we can get together quickly and start working on it. Look at our sources of income, because every source of income is important. You can't just dismiss other sources of income that have traditionally fully funded EMS services. And, there's factors beyond our control, like insurance reimbursements and things like that. But there, in some of our municipalities, for example, Halfmoon Township, the reimbursement of insurance reimbursements are much higher because of the type of insurance that people typically carry. Okay, so that should be weighted against the other factors to determine what a per household or even individual cost, what it should be. So we got to look at all these things, and it's going to be some hybrid of different ideas that are going to go together. But the one thing we need to definitely have is a real clear, detailed budget. And we are working on that already for them and helping them do it. Because these guys, these EMTs, they got a job to do. And they shouldn't be burdened with worrying about where the money's going to come from. So that's one big issue that needs to be addressed. Okay, and that's something that we need to address. And we need to have people involved on a regular basis, on a permanent basis, to help manage all that. So that these people that do the actual responses, that do show up for work, that do provide the service itself, don't have to do some of these things. It's going to take cooperation, and sometimes you got to let people in to help you. And sometimes believe it or not, there's sometimes reluctance to allow people in. So we're going to address a myriad of issues, obviously, and it's going to be difficult. But we're committed and resolved to do it, and we're going to work some kind of a solution. What that looks like right now, I don't know. But one thing it's got to do is it's got to sustain the operations of this EMS service, whatever that looks like. And I'm sure it's a conglomeration of different ideas, different funding sources, and donations and memberships are still vital, still critical. No matter, we can throw money at the problem, but that's not going to solve the problem. First of all, we have to understand it fully in order to solve it. So we'll get there, but it starts with our first meeting, and sometimes you just got to get to know people and what their positions are, and then there's different approaches to conducting meetings. So we need to look at that structure too. How do we get the information, the best information? How do we brainstorm properly? How do we organize the ideas? How do we, refine the ideas down to a list of things that will work?
It's going to be a lot of work.
There's just
Before we get too far into this, I'd like to ask the board's permission to contact our solicitor to get a generic resolution written up that we can hand out to ourselves and the other municipalities to send to the state, the Commonwealth, to get them to change the regulations so that the insurance companies are responsible for paying for ambulance trips. If any
Dave, I think that's a bigger issue. I mean, and it's the lobbyists with the insurance companies. I mean, they are strong, they're
Well,
well-funded.
it is, but
and
I
they
think
will
this is
fight
gonna
to the
go
death.
like wildfire across the state.
Yeah.
Because I have already talked to municipalities outside of
Mm-hmm.
the Upper Bald Eagle cog, and they are with us on this. So
Yeah.
I'd like to get something drafted up that would be appropriate and get it out to the municipalities, obviously, that are involved, and supply it to any other municipality that would like to
Mm-hmm.
assist in this, because I think that's gonna be a strong voice coming across.
Mhm.
There's 2,600 and some municipalities in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. If we could even get a third of them out there, somebody's gonna
Well, that's a
take
pretty
notice.
strong lobbying group, too.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I heard the other day that the state is running a surplus of approximately $500 million. Now, I can't think of a better thing to spend money on, because this isn't just a problem here.
Oh, no,
It's a problem across the state. So I think that kind of money could go a long way in helping to make these services viable again. Because I don't think, if we can't solve this problem legislatively with the insurance companies, well, maybe the state needs to step in and help fund some of these things. The other thing is that I'm sure that insurance companies have a fiduciary responsibility to their patients, to the service providers, and I'm not sure that going to the legislature is the only approach available. There may be a legal avenue too.
Well, we got a new governor too. He might want to hear from us.
Well, that's true.
The county commissioner is going to the head of public safety, so,
Yep.
All
right, so I'd like to make a motion to have our solicitor draw up a draft resolution to send to the various state powers that we could hand out to other municipalities that would support forcing insurance companies to pay the monies due to the ambulance company for ambulance runs. Do I hear a second? Moved and second. Any discussion by the board?
Where's it gonna go again? Is it gonna be like a?
This would be, oh, go ahead.
So it's basically like if a person writes to their legislator or congressman, but it's gonna be more formal. It's gonna be
Yep.
saying what the issue is, what we want, and basically from a township government standpoint, and then that's who's gonna submit these, the government, and then they're gonna go to a particular,
Representatives and the governor's office, and anybody else you can send a copy to.
okay.
So-
And then that'll come out, each township then will be responsible for sending
The-
those out.
Yes, the
to-
townships would be
okay.
responsible
Just
for
wanted to
sending
be
their own
clear what the
by
game plan.
resolution. And I think it would send a strong voice to the state.
Yeah, the more they hear of, because there's been things in committee for years about this, and
Yep.
they're just not moving.
Yep, somebody's got to get that off the plate. I know, as Mr. Bonsall said the other night, if I didn't pay my insurance bill, or just paid half of it, you know where you'd
Yeah,
end up.
yeah.
So they need to be held accountable for their actions too. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Well, I think we also maybe do some research to find out if other municipalities in the state aren't doing the same thing and join them as well, So resolution's a good idea. I just think that we need to start organizing municipalities to address
Well,
the issue.
I
to
know
lobby
6
the-
municipalities will send us in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah,
So,
I agree. And you remind me of something. As part of the discussion on this whole thing, the service, if you look at Port Matilda's EMS service area, it does include parts of Warriors Mark.
And
It does
Ferguson.
include parts of Ferguson Township. And so I think they may need to come to the table
Well,
as
there
well
were
at some
two
point.
supervisors from Warriors Mark were at the meeting on Tuesday night. That's how concerned they are, because they know the port is their backup.
So they can help us with this too.
And they're definitely interested, so.
Dave, do we know where PSATs is, PSATs is powerful for
They have
Pennsylvania.
done resolutions like this before from the PSATS convention.
But I would guess they actively have some bills in legislature. I think it'd be interesting just to know what they're doing too, and maybe put some more pressure on them to push harder, because I know they're a organized, much larger body and a conglomeration of all the
Well, we
townships
could
across the
definitely
state.
send a copy to PSATS too.
But I wonder if they have a model resolution.
They might, but sometimes
Worth
you don't want to
looking
be,
Well, they ought to be tailored to the municipality itself, so. But anyway, I'm okay with it.
all right. Moved and seconded. Call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved. So, Amy, I think you know what we want. Okay, security camera discussion and possible action. Brett?
I'm actually going to turn it over.
What a
to
shock.
Say, by all
Oh,
means.
No, go ahead.
So I was asked to answer 3 specific questions on the camera system we spoke about last month. Those questions were, one, regarding the warranty on the DVR unit, so like the main recording unit. That also has a 3-year warranty on it, which is the same as the cameras as well. So the other question was, how long can you run the Cat 6 wiring? Mr. Woodring responded that it should be able to travel about 650 feet and still keep the same quality video signal. So we're definitely plenty safe as far as running anywhere in this building. The last question was regarding any wireless cameras, and kind of summarize what he said is there are wireless cameras that will work with this system. They still would need a constant 110 volt power supply, so it's not necessarily wireless. So he says if you already have to run power supply to it, if that's the case, run the Cat 6 wiring to it. That way it works as well as it should.
You can do power.
So he said if there was more trouble areas that we would like to look at, he'd suggest maybe, mounting a better quality camera to a pole or something along those lines, but that's something we'd have to discuss with him. Like I said, if we had areas that we feel that we really need to cover, then he can come back out and take a look at it, get recommendations from there. But like I said, those are the questions that I was just asked to answer regarding the, kind of the preliminary step we had here.
And our estimate was just good for another day or two, right?
Yeah, so it is good till the 27th, actually. So we're
Tomorrow.
definitely close here.
Okay. Can we still get it under the time limit? You think?
Be fine tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I could.
Well, I'll move that we buy the
Right after
camera
meeting,
system
so.
and the cameras and install them.
Got a motion to procure the cameras. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Moving second. Any other discussion by the board?
Which budget line is this on?
Brett?
Well, I guess that's a decision for you guys. As it wasn't budgeted for, it would either have to come out of unencumbered or replace something that was already budgeted in lieu of. They're about your only two options where we stand, or a deficit spend. You could take that little bit out of that. They're your three options. It's wherever you guys want it to come out of.
What was the total again?
3,319.
And what do we have left in unencumbered?
10,934.
I would say we take it out of the deficit spend.
I'm okay with that.
That's fine. I made a motion. Do we have a second?
Yeah, Chuck seconded.
Okay.
Call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion approved. Part-time seasonal park mowing position and possible action to direct staff to draft a job description. Chuck, do you want to pick this one up?
Yeah, so the discussion was just having somebody on an as-needed basis to help with mowing responsibilities, mowing specifically the parks. So this would be a position that if both full-time public works staff is out on projects as well as some of our other seasonal guys, we can devote those people to specific needs out on larger projects. And this would kind of help tie up loose ends, especially as, you know, we get into that spring when grass is growing very quickly. So we would definitely need to speak about the specifics of that job title, because it is going to be, there's going to be very certain things that we would need that position for. And I don't think we should necessarily open it up to take advantage of that person, you know, to make sure that because we're going to gear this probably more towards retired individual that just is looking for something very part-time, you know, because it could be very sporadic. So we just want to make sure that whatever we do decide as a job description for it, it is very tailored to that, and that way in the future we can't be kind of pulling that person for other duties.
Kind of like what Hassel Franz was hired to do originally, I guess.
Yeah. That's,
Do you have numbers
Yeah,
of
what
hours or rates or anything like that, or haven't we figured that out yet?
When we budgeted, we went with $12 an hour for 480 hours, which is 30 weeks from pretty much early March to mid to late September, if they would take a day per park. It's kind of just what we figured it on.
Okay.
That mower position would come out of just the part-time pool, which is just one line item, however, so if you guys think it should be a little less, a little more, that'll all get discussed once we get a job description going. Because it may depend on duties that get decided as
If
well.
we made a motion tonight to have that job description and the particulars drafted up, would you guys be able to put it together before the next supervisors meeting?
Oh, definitely.
I'd move that we approve the position and to draft a job description.
Do I hear a second? Patty seconded.
Mhm.
Any discussion by the board? Call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Approved. All right. Approve the Warriors Mark Franklin Company, Fire Company call box response tabulation. So the call boxes are set up, when somebody calls into 911, they might say, you know, Warriors Mark has a pump truck coming, and we're gonna send the full fire rescue from Port Matilda, or whoever, and it all depends on the circumstances of the 911 call. So, I don't know if there's anything out of the ordinary with this.
We're just, basically what we're approving is.
Just approving
that-
how
that
the-
We're just attesting to the fact that they have a plan.
Yeah.
We're not approving the quality of the plan, we're not.
We don't get to pick and choose.
Right, we're just saying to Huntington County that, yeah, they have a plan. I am curious that, in Port Matilda's plan compared to Warriors Mark plan, that the formats are different, and maybe that's just an independent
Every
thing. There's
county's
no
different.
standard on it, so they do their own type of form. But I don't have any problem with it, so.
Do I hear a motion to
I
approve?
move that we approve it.
Ron moves, do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Roseanne seconds. Any discussion by the board? Call for the question, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Department reports. Tax collector, or treasurer's report. Brett?
Yeah, actually, this is still gonna be the treasurer's report for December. So at that time, we had $2.5 million in all of our funds, 1.4 being in the general. That's pretty much all we got going there.
Okay. Haven't seen any tax returns coming in yet?
No. Not yet.
They take quite a while.
Yeah. Nothing else from the tax collector?
No, just end of year, typical end of year.
Zoning permits, anybody got anything startling? The usual. Budget report.
As the 20th of January, we were still running $5,839 to the good, which is actually rare for this time of year. Normally, the income hasn't come in yet. The expenses usually overwhelm the income, so we did a pretty decent job in the month of January staying about even keel, so kudos to us.
Good deal. Public Works report.
So obviously our main focus right now is winter operations, but since we had that odd blast of spring here recently, we've been out just trying to do as much as we can with the mud and the weather we've had. So a little bit of sign repair, a little bit of temporary pothole repairs. Probably kind of the big ones right now is trying to plan the road projects for this year. So been in contact with Matt Knapp, our PennDOT representative. So he has all our information and he's working on writing up our road projects right now. So I'm just waiting to hear back from that, and then I can bring them back to the board and we can discuss those and try to work more plans. So.
Sounds good. Any questions for Public Works?
Can I ask a question? Is there a light on the flagpole at the park over there? Because I haven't seen, the flag seems to be dark morning and night when I go by.
There is a light on it, and we'll have to take a look at that.
Is that a solar powered light?
I believe it is, yeah.
The one at the garage looks like it's solar powered. but I
Must have
can't see
died.
any light up.
Ms. Miller?
Yeah, has anybody looked at Bechtel Road and Darich Court? Like, when you turn onto Bechtel, both sides of the road seem to be caving in. Both sides are getting...
Yeah, that's a trouble spot with the berm, so that's a plan for spring. We gotta get that berm built back up, and there's a number of those issues.
That was on the plan last year, but we couldn't get the pipe. We never got the pipe till, when, October?
We did, that wasn't that spot though, for the pipe.
Oh, I'm thinking.
Yeah, it was-
All right.
no.
Excuse me then, Chuck, sorry. I was thinking.
No, but we have large plans for a lot of berming repairs. They're not all gonna happen this year. It's gonna take us a couple years to get caught up on trying to repair a lot of those spots. But just be aware that they're in our minds. We're working on getting everything planned. So, but I mean, anything that you see, by all means, please let us know. It's helpful. Everybody's out walking dogs and everything like that. That helps us. We can't be on the ground all the time. So I appreciate it.
Anything else? Okay, gonna get to supervisor reports. Before we do the actual reports, get a question back there regarding,
The meeting that's, was advertised for next Monday.
Okay, the
some sort of
hearing on-
about something with Halfmoon.
yep, When the Board of Supervisors makes a decision to do something under the municipality's planning code, if we turn something down, or let's say our sewage officer turned somebody down, said it didn't pass, under the second-class township code and the MPC, they have the right to come in and appeal to an actual hearing. They have so many days to appeal. So that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna come in and present evidence to try to get the board to change its mind about how it is viewing some things.
So it's different than what they were talking about tonight. Sewage
Well,
tonight too, so that's why I was.
the development that's in there has two different plans to
Okay,
it.
so these were 2 lots tonight.
Yeah,
or something.
the two-lot subdivision,
Yeah.
and then
This is a big plan.
this is the big plan,
Yeah.
so they're gonna present evidence, and we're gonna listen, and people can comment and provide testimony, so we'll see what comes out of it.
Okay.
Dave, is
Yes,
this the
ma'am.
plan, like years ago, that they tried to do and?
The Maloney plan,
Yeah.
Mhm.
okay.
yeah,
Halfmoon Acres,
yeah, it's,
Is that meeting open to the public?
yes, oh, definitely.
public hearing.
Public hearing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the same plan, but it's had some variations to it.
Mhm.
It's still not where, in my opinion, it should have been, but they have the right to come in and say their piece, and we'll have an opportunity to comment on it.
Dave, does the hearing pertain to both sides of 550 or just the north side?
I don't remember exactly
Well,
how,
the plan as
probably,
it
it's all the north side as far as the development goes.
Okay.
The original, the plan that is submitted has no drawings for the south side of 550 at this point.
Okay.
But it is the Halfmoon Acres plan,
Okay.
which is based on the original plot that was presented as the plan. And so, in my opinion, it encompasses the entire tract.
Both sides, yeah.
And the
The-
north side is that side? Of
No, the
550?
north side is the mountain side.
That's-
The
Mountain side.
cemetery side.
Okay. mountain
Cemetery
side.
side's north side, and then
This,
Okay.
This project by Half Moon Acres is a little bit odd. As some of you may know, I worked in the subdivision land development business for years. And generally, if you bring a plan in, it gets shot down, you have, under the law, you have so many days to make the corrections that the supervisors request, and it's all by the ordinance. And then they can resubmit the plan, and as long as it meets it, it's automatically deemed approved. In this particular case, rather than doing that, they just decided to file a lawsuit against the township, which is kind of an out of the ordinary. This is just one aspect of what they can do. It's not the entirety of the situation. So I don't know whether the lawsuit's gonna come out or not come out. I mean, the attorneys are still battling that one out, but,
plus we've had one extension after another
Yeah.
granted by the developer, which we either have to accept or reject. And so that kind of that just kicks the can down the road further. So this thing has been going on ever since, even before I was here. It's been going on,
Why
yeah.
are they pushing, this is what I'm trying to grasp, is why are they pushing to develop it first in Half Moon rather than Patton?
which has public sewer.
Yeah. Exactly,
I'm not quite sure.
because that's a big red flag right there.
Well, I think it is, and I personally think it will be for DEP as well, but unfortunately, I don't get to sit in on their meetings, and I don't understand it. Like I said, from my experience of how this is generally done, this is not the way 99.999% of developers ever do it.
Yeah.
But now we have to see how it all plays out.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Dave, so this is a procedural thing, there's not gonna be decisions made, they're just basically presenting information and
They're gonna
asking
present
questions?
information,
They want us to
and we're allowed to present information if we want, and then we as the board will make a decision. We don't have to make a decision that night. You know, we can say, we'll get so many days to make a decision.
So they're basically appealing to us without the court process?
That's it, for a small aspect of this.
Okay.
Well, in addition to the court process.
Yeah. In addition to the court process, in addition to submitting a subsequent two-lot subdivision replot, which I've never seen anybody do that before either, so.
Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying, yeah, because it is strange that the court process is going on and they're
Mhm.
asking for-
Apparently, you can run multiple subdivisions on the same parcel, and I guess throw it against the wall and see what sticks.
I guess we
suppose.
gotta be careful, but the way I look at it is they're appealing for us to repeal our own decision.
Yep, which is odd, but
So we'll see what happens.
And I believe a decade ago that they had a plan for Patton Township that did not pass. So Patton Township already said no to this.
Well, and the sewer's not out that far
No,
yet
it's not.
either.
Yeah, let's go with that.
They'd have to add.
So I guess when you get approval in one township, it sets a precedent for getting an approval in another township.
Possibly.
I don't know. I don't know.
We don't know
That's just
what they're
a
saying.
speculation.
Should be interesting.
Oh, I'm sorry we don't have more information, but,
That's-
No, it's
I can understand.
all good and fun.
okay. Move on to the supervisors' reports.
I'll start. I'm gonna backtrack a little bit to Public Works. I know we received an email offering kudos for the plowing the other day, and I also received a phone call from somebody that never uses the phone, thanking for how conscientious the guys were in paying attention and knowing where everything was and people and just the safety aspects of things.
And kids.
They made witness to that and appreciated it.
Good job.
Oh, and then I did attend the safety COG meeting, an HR COG meeting, and the Lucy COG meeting, and some of the things overlapped. They all spoke about the sinkhole. Alpha Fire Company is rearranging some qualified people to take positions because they haven't found a fire chief yet, but it seems that they're very pleased with how they can elevate some hardworking men into other positions to cover. And they're talking about new equipment for identifying unknown substances. That's going to be a big expense. They're still looking for a senior planner, and they talked about the sewage borough lines, which doesn't concern us, but they were also talking about pumping schedules for our rural tanks. So they were mostly reorg meetings, so these were just thrown out there as tidbits for future discussions.
Are they talking about changing how often we have to come?
I asked that question myself, so it was just another one of those tidbits.
They don't control how often we pump. The DEP controls how often we pump. And for those of you who've been longtime residents, we tried to go with 6 years originally, and the state came back and said no. So we kind of got stuck with our current schedule, and I suppose unless there's another change at DEP, we're going to be stuck with that for a while.
That's all I have, thank
Okay.
you.
Next report.
Okay?
Sure, I'll go. Facilities Committee, we met on January 10th. We did our organizational meeting and reviewed guidelines and etiquette. We also started to discuss our meeting our goal of having a comprehensive long-range facilities plan now that we have a lot of the short-term things. We did all the facilities condition assessments on all our properties and holdings. We fixed things in the course of those assessments, and we also use those to help budget each year to be proactive on how we manage our facilities rather than reactive when things are breaking down, and it's been going very well. So now we're going to start looking at a little more long-term planning as we also keep our short-term assessments up to date. And we received reports about, many of you probably heard about the SCLO library and the pipes breaking on Christmas Day at like 12 in the morning. So it ended up not being real bad due to the quick action by Alpha Fire Company and the borough. So they gave us an update on what they're doing to fix what caused those issues. And let's see, we also got project updates on the Whitehall Road Regional Park, which is moving along in phase 1. And there's also going to be the building for phase 2 of the Spring Creek Education Building and Welcome Pavilion projects will be starting. And those projects were both donor financed, so it's not coming out of them. So that was, very big. And I also am now attending the solar power purchase agreement meetings, and we're getting very close to decisions on that. So for this board, in March, we will have on March 9th, we should be to the point where we can bring like exactly what costs will be in terms of projects and, or terms of the contracts. So look for information coming on March 9th and then we can look at that, we can ask questions, we'll have time to mull that over for a while. And then on the 23rd of March, at that meeting would be when we would discuss our involvement and if we want to be in or out, because they have to, the contracts, knowing the commitment needs to be in by March 28th, and then contracts would probably be signed sometime in April. So,
When's the last COG meeting, the general forum meeting? In March.
this fourth Monday.
Okay. Before that date, I take it.
Well, I don't know that this isn't, see, this is the 15 entities. COG is just one entity, and so are all the townships. There's 15 government entities that are going together to get a good price on solar and traditional electric, because it won't all be solar. So we'll be able to leverage that power. I mean, it's the school district, it's CATA, it's all the municipalities, it's COG, and I'm missing, so
Well,
there's
I
15
thought
of
maybe
them.
COG was spearheading the contract.
No, actually, the State College School District is. They're the biggest player, and due to a lot of they're handling the legal and a lot of the ends on it, so it could be a real good opportunity for us to get a real good discount on power over the terms of the project, so that's
All
what
for
we're gonna find
saving
out.
money. So,
It looks like it should work out that way, so we'll find out.
Thank you.
March 27th is the general forum.
27. Anything else, Patty?
No, I believe that's it. Thank you.
What I also heard was that this next month, they're going to be looking for us to tell them what percentage participation we want. Because that was discussed at general forum.
Yes, and we're fine with that in March. It looks like around 50% is going to be about the most financially beneficial percentage. So, then that's what, when we have these figures in March, we'll know that for sure.
Okay.
Ron?
Let's see, January 12th, I attended the Finance Committee meeting, COG Finance Committee. Of course, we had reorganization, and we talked about Articles of Agreement, which are continuous, and then the piece of equipment was the Threat ID purchase and budget amendment, the Threat ID purchase. So the Threat ID is the actual piece of equipment, and that was forwarded to Executive Committee and then to General Forum. We talked about financial priorities for the COG, which were also forwarded to the Executive Committee. Whitehall Road Park Project was discussed. And that's generally it for finance. Then the Executive Committee was January 17th. Again, we talked about those same issues that were brought forward from finance. Due to, of course, we had an organizational meeting, and due to the fact that we have a rotational schedule for chair and vice chair, Halfmoon Township is vice chair this year. So that means I'm vice chair. And because I'm vice chair of the executive committee, I'm also a member of the Emergency Management Council for Center Region. So that's two more things I wasn't aware of them initially, but that'll work out okay. We did talk about resolution for records disposition, and it's interesting now, one of the agenda items was municipal appointment to the Pennsylvania COG. However, apparently the Pennsylvania COG is non-functional at this point. So there can't be an appointment because there is no PA COG at the present. So that's supposedly going to get resolved at some time in the future. So, and the solar power purchase agreement came up in that discussion as well. Sean Kaufman is the acting director of fire for Center Region. And he's also the director of the emergency management. And I've been getting a lot of emails from him lately. And then, and Rich Frank was appointed to be the representative to the Whitehall Road Regional Park Project Coordination Team. He's going to lead that. So that is Executive Committee. And then on January 23rd was the general forum. And again, we had an organizational meeting. Again, there's a rotational schedule for officers, chair and vice chair, and I'm also vice chair of that. So, again, the things from finance, facilities goes to finance goes to executive goes to general forum on the various issues. I don't actually think there were a lot of decisions made because this is the organizational meeting for each of the committees. Let's see here if there's anything else that I have. Of course, we have all kinds of reports from the various departments and the COG departments, as well as even the school district and even the university representative. They all gave reports. There's a lot of things in matters of record. One thing that happened that was I thought was pretty interesting was at the general forum was the award, a life-saving award given to 2 young ladies that were on vacation with their parents, I guess, and Cabo, I think it was. And they were walking down the beach, and a woman was walking with her infant child along the beach, and a big wave came up, grabbed them and hauled them out, pulled them out into the ocean. And these 2 girls had life-saving training from Red Cross, and they for lifeguard duties as well as general life-saving skills. They jumped in that water and they rescued the mother and the child. The child had stopped breathing because had gotten water in her lungs. They were able to resuscitate the child and save both of them. So they were both, and I can't remember their names. I might have it written down here, but it was pretty neat because they got the they got the Red Cross's highest award for life saving. Well, that's what I'm looking for here. It was I've never seen something like that before. Let me see if I have it here. Recognition. Let's see here. I'll find out and I'll
That's fine.
tell you who they were at the next meeting. So, but I was impressed. And their parents, the parents were there and they accepted the awards. The 2 young ladies were attending by Zoom, so the parents accepted the award on their behalf, and I could tell they were pretty proud parents.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and the person that manages or supervises the polls,
Yes, and gave them the lessons.
yeah, he was given an award for leadership. So, it's nice to see people that are willing to do that. They're heroes, really.
Yeah.
So they got a standing, well, not a standing ovation, but an ovation, an extended applause. So it was a pretty nice thing to see. That's all I have.
All right. Anything I want to add is most of the board attended the Upper Bald Eagle COG meeting on Tuesday, and I know that many of your faces out there were at that meeting, and I appreciate you showing up, asking good questions. I think every municipality is keenly aware of what we need to be. I'm surprised there weren't more people showing up at the meeting, but I think it sent a pretty strong message to all the elected officials that this needs to be figured out, and I pretty much guarantee you it will be shortly. So we're going to make it happen. Chuck, do you have anything down there?
No.
Okay. All right, anything for the good and welfare? Anybody would like to add? Hearing none, diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Good evening, thank you.
I figured you were there somewhere. I didn't see your name, but.
Hi, this is Virginia Squire, and I don't know if you can hear me, but I'd like to wish you all a happy Lunar New Year.
Thank you.
Tomorrow is the International Day of Commemoration in memory of victims of the Holocaust. And upcoming in February, it's Black History Month. This morning I was doing a little research, and I found a definition of equity that I thought was appealing. Equity is the act of ensuring that processes and programs are impartial, fair, and provide equal possible outcomes for every individual. Inclusion is the practice of making people feel a sense of belonging. And diversity is the presence of differences within a setting. So I just want to put those definitions out in front of everyone and have you think about it as we move through these next few important dates. That's all I've got. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mr.
Do I hear a
Chair,
motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Moving second, call for the question. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned. 7:59.